Hi, I'm Detroit City Councilman James Tate, representing District 1, and we all know that school is supposed to reopen again in the fall in just a number of weeks. September 8th for Detroit Public Schools Community District. Some schools will open prior to that. Regardless of what school system the student is located in, each school system has to deal with how to confront the challenges of COVID-19. Caught all of us off guard in March and February. We've had an opportunity now to kind of get caught up to speed on some of these things. And as we've talked about, now we're in the process of potentially opening up the schools to our students in September. There's been a lot of controversy regarding that, not just here in Detroit, but around the country. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, the teachers, Detroit Federation of Teachers, authorized a potential strike in the event that their demands aren't met because of the safety concerns for the teachers as well as the students dealing with COVID-19. You've heard from politicians, you've heard from teachers, and you've heard from everyone else. You just haven't heard from the students. Well, that ends today. Today, we're going to talk to a number of students here who have great insight that will be able to provide us with what they're thinking during this time, this crazy, phenomenal time in history. Joining us, we have Dominic Gonzalez. He's a 12th grader with the Academy of America's High School. Dominic has a special distinction. He's also the only high school student, I believe that's correct, the only high school student that's a part of the Return to School Council, the state of Michigan's Return to School Council. So we want to thank you for joining us, Dominic. We also have Anaya Martin. She's a 12th grader at CMA High School, located in District 1. Thank you for joining us, Anaya. We also have Jordan Boyd, another 12th grader, CMA High School. We have Yamia Biggs, who's joining us. She's also a 12th grader at CMA High School. And you probably heard CMA. CMA does some great work over there, so we wanted to make sure we highlighted one of our shining jewels in District 1 as it relates to CMA. And rounding off our panel, we have Desmond Bryan, also a senior at CMA High School. Thank you all for joining us today. We want to get right into it. And you know, I guess maybe I'll pull somebody out. We'll get the first question to Anaya. Anaya, you know, again, we're looking at COVID-19. When it dropped on us in February and March, it took us all by surprise. We had to adjust. Let me just ask you, how have you been adjusting as a senior now, going through the school, 4 months of remote learning? How have you been able to adjust as a high school senior?
Well, it is an adjustment. You know, learning online is a lot different, especially since, you know, at home I have a 3-year-old brother who often likes to mess with my laptop. So that was, you know, interesting to navigate around.
So have you, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, can ask please.
Yeah, so was the work a little easier? Was it more challenging for you?
It was just, overall, I would say like less. Like when you're in a classroom, there's more that goes into it, like understanding like the environment and just general communication with the teacher. And then when it's online, it's just like words, you look up or figure out the answers and you hit submit, and that's, you know, basically it. So
Yeah.
there's less like actual learning taking place.
And it's hard to get that immediate confirmation of if you're doing things the right way or not, from what I've heard from some students. Jordan, talk to us about your experience so far in this COVID world as a student. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the things that you like actually with this remote learning?
Well, with the remote learning, I get to be in my environment, because if I have more of a set time for my own work, considering the amount of time when school closed, like the aftermath of doing the work online. It was, for us, I did like a lot more Khan Academy online work. We were just typing, working on papers and stuff where our teachers assigned it and we had a set duration to do it. It was a lot more relaxing for me to do it. But at the same time, where if it's not like the 55-minute period from school, I might have to do it last minute. So regarding the work, it's kind of harder to do it, but at the same time, I have more resources available to me at my house.
Awesome.
Minus the teachers, but yes.
So Yamia, talk to us about your experience with remote learning. It was a big shift for everyone, and I'm sure it was a big shift for you. What has your experience been like over those 4 months where you were away from school, but still learning?
It was kind of difficult at the beginning, but it was also good because you could go at your own pace. Like, they would post the assignments that you had, and if you were going at your own pace, you could do them. If you know how to do it, you can do them all at one time, or you can space it out, however you want to do it. But the challenging part was that you don't have the teachers and you don't have people around you to ask for help if you don't need it. I mean, if you don't know, like if you need the help, or if you're not sure how to answer this question, or different things like that. So it was kind of a 50-50 thing for me.
Awesome. So Dominic, you're a part of the Return to School Advisory Council. So not only are you giving your insight, but I'm sure you're gauging the opinions of your fellow classmates and students as well. Before we go into the bigger overall Return to School Advisory Council and how you've been fitting in there, just tell us about how your experience has been just as a student going through this COVID situation, learning remotely.
Am I be able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, it was a big step. March. All our life we've been used to being in school, connecting with the teacher. It was a big step, and it came with the challenges. It came with the access to internet and being able to find the work and be able to participate in class. It has been an overall challenge, but I believe that we are so accustomed to being in school, we should have an open mind and think of the risk of going to school and being in school and virtual learning. I feel like it's a bigger step to give anything a chance to try on virtual learning.
Yeah, I mean, because we're at this situation where we all had to figure, like I said, we had to figure it out. Desmond, we had to figure it out. You figured it out. What did you like? What did you not like about remote learning?
With the remote learning, I enjoyed the fact, to piggyback off of what they said, I enjoyed the fact that we could go at our own pace and different things like that. But what I didn't really necessarily like was, going off of what they said, we didn't have access to instant answers. So if we had a question or concerns about anything, it wouldn't be instant access the same way as being in school, where you would be able to, actually get the answers right then and there, to where you can go and finish your work right then and there.
So, and we know that there's going to be the option of remote learning or distance learning, whatever they call it, when you guys go back to school in September. But there's going to be I'm sure, a number of folks who want to actually get into the classroom, a number of parents who want to get into the classroom, a number of students who may even want to get into the classroom. Without me asking you all who wants to get into the classroom, have you heard from any of your fellow students that they prefer being in class versus online? And anybody can take that question. Yamia?
What?
No.
Or Anaya? Go ahead. Whoever.
Go ahead, Anaya.
I was just gonna say, well, I know me personally and a lot of my friends, like, obviously it's our senior year, so we want to go to school, but it's not safe for everybody. And so it's more of a risk than we're willing to, grab.
Yamia?
Yes, I've seen a number of people want to go back, but they really just want to go back for the interaction with other students and to see their friends and things like that.
So do you guys think that you're actually getting a quality education remotely? I mean, I guess the question I would ask, if you don't feel like you're getting a quality education, what are some of the things that you would change or recommend changing with the remote learning to the administrators? Anybody can take that one.
You know?
Whoever.
I feel like when the pandemic first hit us and we were thrown into the virtual learning, it was more of we were at a loss of what to do. It was uncertain what was going to happen. And I feel like as an administrator, as a district, whatever school you're in, they need to place the importance of this is school, this is what's going to happen, this is the importance of it. Your grades are going to matter whether you join an online class, online work, it's still the same as being in school. I feel like many students took this opportunity to say, we're out of school, it's not counting, it's not the same. I feel like we should all stress the importance. This is the same education we would be getting in school, and it's the same importance and matter.
Jordan, I think you wanted to add something to that?
Yes. With the closing of our school, it was more of a not emergency, but like a last minute setup for how we were learning and like the work that we had to do. And from a call that we did with our principal and other faculty members, we were discussing how they plan on setting it up for online as well as in school. And without having any actually doing it, going off of what we were told, it feels that the online class setup, how as close as possible they did want to make it to the in-classroom experience, is decent. I have not tried it yet to say that it's bad or good, but as far as how I would change it, I'm hoping that it's going to be well enough for every student to be able to turn in an assignment, especially like if we're writing essays and stuff for typing or writing, including, where it's actually we need you missed a letter here, you did not indent properly here. That's the part that I feel like might be missed out on that interaction online.
And I think this is real, even more so important for you all. This is your senior year, right? So at this point, you want to make sure that you're as best prepared as possible as you go to the next stage of your life. Does that concern any of you, that you may not be the best prepared heading on to whatever you do next beyond senior year?
Well, a little bit, because 11th grade for me it was supposed to be that setup year going into your senior year, so everything would be good. The SAT, the essays, different things like that. You're preparing yourself and getting it together for you to go on to the next level, and it was cut short for us, and we didn't even get to take the SAT and get our actual scores back. And our senior year, it won't be the same, because even if we do go to school, it's still, we won't be able to interact as much and be as close as how we would usually be. So I feel like that's it's kind of different. It messed it up a little bit.
So it's interesting you bring that up about the distancing, not being able to touch and hug, or even give the man hug, or to give somebody a pound, because people are advising you don't touch anyone. Desmond, is that something that you think that will be able to be abide by? You think students will follow those recommendations? I mean, we got adults in all around the country who are fighting because they don't want to wear masks and they don't want to be 6 feet away from anyone. So these are folks who have gone through life and all these experiences, and they're choosing not to do these same things that we're asking students to do. Do you think that high school students, grade school students will follow these recommendations that are being put out there? Socially distancing, not touching, your mask on all day long. What's your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't think so. I feel like it'll be a struggle for a lot of people, especially younger children, because they're not understanding as much. Because think about younger kids having to keep a mask on all day and not touching. Kids like to play and they're joyful and always full of energy and different things like that. So they like to interact with each other. So that'd be a difficult thing for them, and even older kids, because when we were in school for 11th grade, we actually had teachers that when we would be in the hallway, they give us high fives or fist bumps or different things like that, and we have different interactions with different teachers. So with that, I don't feel like that'll be what's the word I can use? I don't think that will be followed the proper way. The social distancing and things like that, not touching. I don't think that'll work out.
What about you, Anaya? And guys, if you can, when you're not speaking, because we're getting some feedback, if you can turn your computers on to mute when you're not speaking. So Anaya, what do you think? You think students are going to adhere with these rules?
Like he was, like he was saying, I honestly don't know. Like I said, like some people, the mask, like it can get irritating for your face. So people have been messing with that a lot. So I feel like we should have periodic breaks to take them off or just go on our own space. But a lot of people our age aren't always concerned about other people's well-being or even themselves a lot of times. So I don't see a lot of people like necessarily maintaining the social distancing rules. And then with grade school kids, it's not, children as a whole don't really think as much about, oh, well, if I do this, then this could happen. They're just like, oh, this is my friend, let me give them a hug, or let's swap masks, yours is cute, like kid stuff. So it's just dangerous.
So Dominic, you're part of the, I mentioned it again, the only teen, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only student that's a part of the Return to School Advisory Council for the state of Michigan. What are some of those considerations? What are you bringing to the overall group in terms of representation for students?
Being a part of the Return to School Council is a great opportunity, and everything is being considered, from the students' well-being to the teachers' well-being, from, as they have said, the grade school students. Everything is being considered. I feel like what my job is to bring to the table is how a student has a feel about returning to school. They want everyone's opinions, everyone's feelings about being safe, being in a good environment, and overall a good learning environment for every student.
So how did you get chosen? I know I can hear a number of people who are watching right now saying, wait a minute, how did he get to be the only teen, the only student chosen? How did you get chosen?
Well, it was an application process. I had received a call from Miss Angel Fox from DPSED saying this is a great opportunity to apply for. This is, the pandemic wasn't planned, but this is something that you could make the best of it. And going into it, I'm at a small school, Academy of the Americas, over 150 kids. There wasn't really much expected from it, but applying for it and getting accepted has been a great opportunity, and being around all the health professionals, educators, it's helped me really open experience on this whole pandemic.
So Jordan, I'm going to come to you next. We talked about, again, some of the concerns that students have going back to school this fall. And we just, again, as I mentioned earlier, the school teachers, the Detroit Federation of Teachers, authorized a potential strike if their demands are not met. What's your thoughts on the potential strike of teachers saying, look, we don't feel safe going into these schools. This is not something that we are saying the students are automatically going to infect us. We're also concerned about their health as well, not just ours. What's your thoughts on a potential strike of in-person school learning by teachers that you, I'm sure, support and want to see the best for them as well?
My thought on the strike for the reasons of their safety is valid. I consider that a reasonable strike and justified, because if there's the option to switch to technology-based or remote learning, I believe is what everybody is virtually, universally calling it. But when you enter in the classroom, even if we do 6 feet, which is the minimum distance that we agreed upon, and wear mask, that does not get rid of the chance of catching it. That only diminishes or lessens the chance of catching it. That there's the difference in possibility and annihilation of that chance. So why would certain teachers want to even risk that, considering that they have their own family members that they go back to, same way that the doctors and nurses, like they go to work all day and they have to interact with people with the virus. And if they catch it, they go home and they infect their family. They feel bad. What the teachers wouldn't want to do that. And on top of that, the coronavirus or COVID-19, I'm not sure what the proper term I should be referring to it is, but we have, sorry, I apologize.
No problem.
It's been stated that it's very scary for the younger age children and the older age to catch it because of their immune system, and including people with breathing problems such as asthma and stuff. So even opening up an environment where you want to get out, sorry, where you want to
That's
do
all right.
that,
That happens to all of us.
you want to where you want to have teachers basically risk catching it should be justified via a strike. I mean, you should be fought with a strike, because there's no reason that they should put themselves in danger. And I believe that there should be some assistance for remote learning. I apologize.
No problem. Great answer. Yamia, what's your thoughts? I mean, you've got some people say, well, young people, they probably won't die from it. No, because you're hearing that, which is crazy when you hear politicians say that. Young people won't die from it. There's probably the most strongest people when it comes to confronting coronavirus. And now we have teachers potentially looking to strike because they're concerned. Do you think that those concerns are valid that the teachers have? And if so, why?
Yes, I do think they are valid, because a lot of teachers actually, they care about their students and they want what's best for them, as well as themselves and their family. By coming back to school, we're risking a lot of people catching it. Even places that have already been to school, there has been cases and numbers that have skyrocketed. So I feel as though it is valid, because they don't want that to happen, and they don't want to risk it to happen in their environment, or for it to spike back up again when things are, somewhat calming down. I think it is valid, and that if it needs to happen, then it should, because everyone's opinions matter, and I think that is best, because it would be safest for us and everyone to stay at home.
So Desmond, let me ask you. So they're saying right now that there very well may never be a vaccine. They're working on a vaccine, but they say, it may be like the flu. We'll give you something kind of suppress it, but it may be here forever. So in your mind, if there's no vaccine that can eradicate COVID-19, do you think that we open up schools ever?
Honestly, I don't think that would be a good idea, because if there's no vaccine for it, that's saying it can continue on and on and on and on and on. And eventually, say we do open up schools, and then you never know what people are doing on their free time when we're not at school. They could be going out doing something and contract it, then come back to school and contract multiple people. Because the thing is, when we're in school, we touch multiple things. We touch doorknobs, we touch the boards, we touch lockers, different things like that, and that other people have to touch. And the school can't honestly make sure that they're sanitizing every single thing that people touch. So there's no actual 100% chance that they'll be getting everything that we touch. So they could possibly be contracting it and spreading it to others, and eventually everyone could possibly end up getting it, and it could sicken and infect everyone. So I don't think that we should open the schools.
So let me ask you guys this. Do you believe that you've been provided with enough information on what the schools are planning to do to keep you safe? We know it's something online. I've read it. I've seen news articles, but you all are actually the ones who are going to be in the schools, or at least affected more so than I am. I'm not a student. Do you believe that you've been provided with the proper information or enough information that the school system has on how they plan on keeping you safe? And anyone can answer that question.
First I want to say the virus affects everybody. I'm actually going through the virus right now, and it is the worst virus, worse than the flu. It will hurt everybody. And I had the opportunity to work on the roadmap to school, on the opening of school, and I feel that enough was provided to administrators and principals, but I feel like students haven't really been involved in saying this is what's going to happen. When you're in school, these are the rules that you're going to have to follow. These are the protocols, procedures, what's going to happen. I feel like some students are going to walk in September 8th thinking this, minor protocols. I feel like students should be told this is how school's going to operate on a daily basis.
So do you think, because sometimes that's a challenge. Again, there's a whole website. You got a page that's dedicated to it on the Detroit School Community District's website. What other means or ways do you think that the school system can communicate the overall plan to the students?
Yeah, I know a lot of students, they won't go out their way to go look at on the website. I feel like as a teacher, they should connect maybe via class calls, just sending out an email to individual students saying, this is how we're gonna do it, connect with that one-on-one so students can get that understanding.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Yes, we actually, for our school, we have Google Teams, and it's kind of, they do it by class, and so like information they can just put in the chat for everybody to be able to see. Just click on the app.
Think that's pretty helpful?
Yes.
That's been pretty helpful? Okay. We're getting close to the end, and I, again, thank you all for giving us your time on a Thursday afternoon. You could be doing anything, but you chose to do this and educate the community. So I'm hearing you guys speak right now. You're very eloquent. You have concerns that are legitimate. You absolutely want to continue your schooling, but you're concerned. How do you think it's best that you all as students, and not just you, but overall the student population in the city, how do you think it's best for you all to get your voices heard? Because I said before, I'm hearing from everybody else, but I'm not hearing from students. And that's not a criticism to you all. It's really a criticism for folks like us who are not providing platforms for you to speak. But what would you tell someone like me or someone in our position on how to get your voices heard about how you feel about reopening the schools? And anyone can take that one as well.
For me, I feel like right now, social media, maybe that's the biggest platform that we have, and that people our age and people of all ages are on there. So, because sometimes if you post a video and this has enough information, or if it's a certain type of content, it'll blow up, it'll skyrocket, and everyone will be hearing it, everyone will see it, so I feel as though maybe if everyone comes together and maybe make a page on different social media sites, students with voices, things like that, something that will have us be known, so they'll know that we're students and we would like to voice our opinions. We want to be heard, not just heard, but also listened to, where it's an interaction with us and the adults, so they don't think that we're, just because we're children or we're of younger age, that things that we're saying aren't serious and that they don't really matter, because a lot of times our opinions aren't really taken into account. because we are younger. So sometimes they feel as though they're the adult, they know, so they'll just take that and go with that. They might listen to us and hear what we say, but they won't really have it registered in.
Anybody else want to answer that? How do we get your voices amplified about your concerns, whether that's good or, you want to go back to school in person or not in person, or some of the details with all the plans? How do we, people like me, help amplify your voices? Anyone can take it.
I feel like students, if they would like their voices heard, they can try to talk to their administration and see if they have some possible way of them getting in contact with people to try to get their voices heard. How we have this platform, being able to talk to you and give our opinions and different things like that. I feel like students can talk to their administration and see if they have a possibility or a way of talking to different people and getting their voices and opinions heard, because everyone has different opinions. So a lot of people might not have the same opinion that one person thinks. So in order for everybody to get their opinion, I feel like that'd be a good way.
All right. Anybody else before we wrap that one up? Any further question on that one or any response on that?
Continuing to do things like this, picking students to hear them talk and releasing it to like a big platform to the public.
So the one thing I can tell you is that, a lot of times people say, if it's not being done, you might have to do it yourself because it may not happen. So I think I've got 5 awesome individuals here who could put something together like that. 4 of you go to the same school. So keep that in mind. Advocacy, sometime it doesn't come your way, you got to start it. And I would be absolutely willing to do everything I can to help amplify your voices because you deserve it. A last question, and I wanted to save this one for last. And you can kind of go around, if someone gave you the option of going to school in person next fall, and we're asking only you, not parents, not teachers, only you, we'll start with you, Yamia. Would you choose to go back to in-person school only, or are we looking at maybe a mixture of the two, remote and in-person, or are we talking remote only?
For me, right now, I feel I'm only going to be doing remote learning because it's a really serious time, and a lot of people don't take it seriously. They take it as a joke, or a lot of people play around too much, and I wouldn't want to get sick, and I wouldn't want to bring it home to the people that live here. My grandfather, and I have a nephew, he's only 2, and my grandfather's 90. So that's
both ends.
Yeah, it's both ends, so you never know. And sometimes people will do things, they play jokes, and I don't really like things like that. And yeah, I'd rather just choose remote learning because I feel like it's the safest option right now. Yeah.
Dominic, the choice is yours. In person, a mixture, a hybrid of remote and in person, or remote learning only. What's your choice?
Actually, I was one of the people. I had downplayed it and said, it's going to blow over. It's going to be okay. I'm going to go back to school. It's going to be back to normal. My opinion on it has changed since contracting the virus. This is a serious matter, and every young person take it seriously. I have a mild case. Thankfully, I'm one of the lucky ones. But I feel like it is going to a greater cause to take a break. It's a sacrifice we must make to do virtual learning, and it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be what we're used to, but it's going to be worth that when later down the line, when this is going to stopping the spread of the virus. Because if you look at the beginning of the pandemic in March, it was mostly elderly people contracting the virus, and then going into June, it had hit a lot of younger people. Most of the hospitalizations were between 20 and 30 years old. And I feel like going into the fall, this is just calling for a spike in young people.
Desmond, what about you? In person, a mixture of in person and remote, or remote only, if you had the choice?
For me personally, I would do remote learning because I feel like it's safest that way to stay home into your own environment rather than going out and being with multiple different people. So I feel like that, for me, myself personally, I feel remote learning would be better. But I don't know for other people, because sometimes the school could be a safe house for people because they might have some other issues going on at home. And school could be, you know, the place where they feel safe, or, you know, they forget about everything that's going on at home. But for me personally, I would do just remote.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that is not mentioned by a lot of people, that, you know, students in certain situations, they have it much better at school than they do at home. They go home to horrible situations, but you also want to make sure that they're safe when they're in that place that's, you know, better than, unfortunately, at home. Jordan, what about you? Out of those three options?
Between the three options, I would have to only be able to do remote because of the danger. That's really the big issue that everybody has. Is if this was, you know, flu, where, you know, everybody gets it and we have medicine, site medicine, but it comes around every year, shots, vaccinations, like for flu, but it's not. And this is something that a lot of people fear, and the people who don't fear it are the people who are normally I apologize, I don't want to offend by saying the wrong word, but I'm trying to say, like, they also can be seen as uneducated to the subject. So and with cases of opening up schools, there's already been, I believe, Indiana opened up a school, and this came from the New York Times. They opened up a school, and a student went through several classes, and they found out he had tested positive. And how do you think that will not happen in a area like Detroit, where it's been known, and like if it's not known, I can speak firsthand. During lockdown, I was going to the grocery store, and I looked over as we're driving by. There was a huge party at the park, and that's just something that a lot of people, or many people, I should say, can say that they've seen people void warnings, and it's all over social media, where there's people walking in the store without masks or holes in their masks, or they don't care about their safety or other safeties. So how do you think that opening up a school would be safe to do? So that's why I would do remote learning.
Yeah, and you, again, you guys bringing up very, 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 very valid points. There's a lot of misinformation out there about this virus. And then also sometimes these guidelines change over time. I remember way back, it was saying don't wear a mask. And then it was like, hold up, wear a mask. And now it's mandated in so many places. Anaya, you got three choices. What's your choice if you given the sole responsibility for providing that response?
So if it was me, I would choose the hybrid option, only because, you know, I could be at home most of the time in a safe environment. But, you know, half the summer, my stepmom and my father actually had COVID. My father, he had it with pneumonia, so he's in the hospital. But my stepmom, she was, you know, still able to stay at home. And I was actually in the house with her, had to, you know, take care of her. And with the proper precautions, you know, it can be safe. But I would only choose the hybrid because, you know, I would still want that in-person learning with a teacher every so often, because it's just, for me personally, I learn better in person, but it wouldn't be so consistent, you know, to increase the chances. Because even though, you know, there are the precautions, there's still, you know, that small chance. So it's like, you know, a good mix for me personally.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that as well as I go out and about. I want to thank you guys for answering all of my questions and being very patient with me. This is not what I do for a living, but you guys have been very, very kind with your time. And I want to make sure that I follow up on what I said. We want to make sure we provide you with whatever platform is necessary to get your voices out. You've answered my questions, but I want to turn the mic over strictly to you all. If there's anything that you want to give to the public, want them to hear that we may not have discussed in this conversation, feel free to add that information, add that right now before we wrap up. Whoever wants to go.
I'm not sure how many students are at CMA, that I'm not aware of, but I know in DPSCD there's schools with well over 1,000 students, and I feel like taking that into consideration, 1,000 kids in one building, we need to approach it with an open mind and think what's better for the kids and better for the teachers and everybody in that building.
Anybody else want to add anything? You're not forced to, but if you want to add, here's your chance.
I do want to add
right.
something. I want to just tell everybody, elderly, young, middle-aged, whatever, wear your mask, follow the proper precautions that they're telling us, sanitize regularly, because this is a serious matter. And by us following the precautions that they give out and set out for us, I feel like that'll help it and eventually could compress this virus. So I just want to tell everybody, wear your mask, follow the precautions, and sanitize regularly.
Good advice
And I
to
would
take.
like, yes, I was gonna go, off of what he said, because everyone thinks, it's not gonna be me, I can't get sick, but it's like it can literally happen to anyone. My dad caught it from accidentally sitting in some gum at a random place. No, it's so simple. So everyone just take the precautions, like you were saying, because it can anytime, anybody, and even if not for you, your family, because you can have it and not even know it, and then spread it to so many other people and still feel fine afterwards.
Wise words. All right. Anything else? If not, I want to thank you all for participating. And for the audience who's watching, I want to thank Ms. Anaya Martin, Jordan Boyd, Yamia Biggs, Desmond Bryce, and all 12th graders, all seniors at CMA High School. And then last but certainly not least, Mr. Dominic Gonzalez, senior at Academy of Americas. Thank you all again. We really appreciate you. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we can do this again sometime real soon. I'll be reaching out to you. Thanks again. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.